Hi, I'm Siraj. In all my previous demos, we have seen all new features of SharePoint 2013 like just render, SharePoint hosted app, and on high trust cloud hosted app. In this demo, we will configure and implement form-based authentication with SharePoint 2013. Here, as you might know, FBA is a claim-based authentication method and is an identity management system that is based on ASP.NET membership and role provider authentication. Hence, first we need to create ASP.NET DB in SQL Server database. Hence, for this, we need to run the following command. It will open up the wizard, ASP.NET SQL Server Setup Wizard. Follow the wizard, provide the name of the database, once the database is created, we need to verify it using SQL Server Management Studio. Next step is we're gonna test it. For testing, I have created a blank solution in Visual Studio 2012. Now let's add an empty website to the solution. Then I'll add some configuration to web.config. In this configuration, first I've defined a connection string which is pointing to ASP.NET DB database. Next, I have defined a membership section with a membership provider name as NVISPRO FBA SQL membership provider, which is inheriting from SQL membership provider. And I have defined default attributes. The most important one is connection string name, which is pointing to above connection string. Similarly, I have defined a role manager with a default name as NVISPRO FBA SQL role provider. And here the most important attribute is again a connection string which is pointing to above connection string. Now let us run the application by navigating to website, ASP.NET configuration. This will open an website administration tool which will allow us to create and manage users and roles all through point and click interface. Now click on provider configuration, click on advanced, and make sure the membership and role provider defined in the configuration file is selected. You can also test them. Now let's create few roles and users. Hence we have tested ASP.NET DB and created two users and roles. Now we can configure all required settings for SharePoint. Next, we will modify web.config of security token service. During authentication process, this service is responsible for issuing, managing, and validating security tokens. Let's open up its web.config file in Visual Studio. Then I'll copy paste some configuration and a connection string. Again, here I have defined a membership provider and a role provider which is inheriting from SQL membership provider and a role provider. and a connection string which is pointing to ASP.NET DB database. Make sure you back up all the config files before making any changes. Next, we will modify the web.config of central administration site. So we have our central administration site. It has a web.config. I'll modify this in Visual Studio. Next, search for people picker wizard wildcard. Uh, and add a new key of our of our membership provider. Next, search for membership section and overwrite our configuration. Next, we need to add the connection string at last. After you have modified the web.config file for security token service and central administration site, just make sure that you haven't broken anything by navigating to the service and to the site. Okay, it works. Next, we need to verify the central administration site. Okay, both are working. Next, we will be creating a fresh web application for testing FBA. Provide the name, port, host header, the path, choose allow anonymous. Enable form-based authentication. Application pool name. Database name. Next, click on OK. Next, we will create a root site collection using PowerShell. Meanwhile, let's add the snap in first. Now create a new site. Next, we will configure FBA for our new web application by modifying its web.config file. Search for people pickle wildcards. And add our provider name, the connection string, and I'll overwrite the membership section. Once you have added the required information, it's time to navigate to FBA site and add FBA users. Site settings, Nim, Raj, These are the two users that we have created in using these are the two FBA users that we have created earlier. Press OK. Sign out. Cool. Now we are able to log in using FBA users. Please mark your comments, Google Plus and Facebook likes and shares if you like the video, and encourage to submit many more features of SharePoint 2013.